What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to our weekly live stream. And we got myself, Greg the Leg, Carson Carell, and just in the nick of time, Michael Tracy popped on right as we were going live. So,
Yeah,
what's going on, fellas? How we doing?
not too bad.
Doing pretty good.
Yeah,
Good Monday.
yeah, okay, Monday, I guess, right? We'll dive into the week that was NC State athletics, but I guess we'll address the elephant in the room. NC State football. Wah, wah.
Yeah, we need a soundboard.
Yeah, I think that'll be the next investment that we make. But that was a bitter pill to swallow on Saturday. Needless to say, the Wolfpack lose once again, 2 years in a row to Duke by a score of 29-19. And I guess anything that could be explained as what a stinker of a performance on the offensive side of the ball. And Carson, I will get your initial thoughts on the field goals that were in that game when we had some opportunities to potentially punch it in, and we took the field goal route. So kind of just give me your initial thoughts on the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's very tough to process it because we moved the ball extremely well down the field when we were in that position. But it seems like when we got to the red zone, it's just the offense just completely fell asleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it did. Michael, kind of give me your initial thoughts on the offense, and then we'll kind of break things down.
Yeah, and that's kind of been a lot of the issues this season is that red zone. And not necessarily red zone. Red zone is technically inside the 20, but once you get inside, the 30, 35.
The scoring zone, yeah.
Yeah. And it's killed us a couple times. Syracuse turned the ball over 3 times in that same area.
Mm-hmm.
And then Saturday, I don't think we turned it over, but you just couldn't get touchdowns and instead you're kicking field goals. And
yep.
You get 2. I think we kicked 4 field goals. I mean, even if you get 2 touchdowns instead of out of those 4. You just convert 2 of those into touchdowns. You're probably talking about winning that game.
Yeah. And then you got, conversely, you have a Duke kicker who misses an extra point and 2 field goals against SMU, and he hits like 50-yard field goals against us.
Yeah, I think he had 2 50-yarders. Yeah.
Yeah. It is just a weird game, right? Your defense, doesn't give up a third down conversion, and they only rush for 30 yards, and you just can't win a ball game, right? And I think that's kind of been the theme this year is we just find really weird ways to lose games.
Yeah. And Tony Gibson, I mean, he just always figures it out. Like even the beginning of the year with those, Clemson and Tennessee. I mean, first half against Tennessee, defense played really well, but obviously as good as they played in the first half, they were terrible in the second. And then Clemson was just a mess from the start.
Yeah.
And, the last 4 games, he's 29 was the most by Duke was the most that anybody scored in the last 4 games, which
2 of those is a safety, so that's not on him. And then they turned it over deep.
Exactly true.
They turned it over deep a couple of times, which led to some easy points.
But point being that your offense should be able to score 30. Like if you just score 30, State's that's 2 games you're flipped. You're sitting at 7-3. That weight game probably still hurts a little bit, but again, that's just and that's a game where your defense couldn't come up and get a big stop in the fourth quarter against that weight game. But since that weight game, he's really his defense has been good enough to win every single game, and that's down key guys. Fordham, I know Jahad Carter, but he left, but because Cooley probably was playing better than him. But I just think that deserves some recognition a little bit in otherwise disappointing season. But
Yeah, you mentioned Tony Gibson's defense. They gave up a total of 276 yards. I mean, that's pretty much getting it done. That's where you want to probably keep your opponents under 300 total yards, and you just need a little bit more from your offense. Whether I don't know, and we kind of talked about it last week, where you're facing a Manny Diaz defense, and Manny Diaz, he's a really good defensive coach, and he's got his guys playing hard in their first year, so you have to give him some credit for that. And we knew that this was going to probably be, other than the Clemson, opening start for CJ Bailey, this was going to be his toughest game, and it proved. He definitely struggled, and I don't put that all on CJ, but I mean, he definitely looked more like a freshman. The offensive line at times didn't give him a lot of love, whether that was trying to open up holes for the running game, or just giving him pass pro and giving him time to make plays. And then when he did have time to make plays, our receivers dropped a lot of passes this game. I think this is the most. I don't. Do you have access to that stuff, Michael?
I do, but I can pull it up as we're talking. But I mean, I know 4 off the top of my head, like 3 on 3 straight plays, and that really hasn't been we haven't really talked about that at all this year, which hasn't always been the case in the last couple of years with receivers. But yeah. So I mean, that made his numbers look probably worse than they really should have been. But yeah, like you said, I mean, going back to that red zone discussion, there were 2 plays he had. On one drive, 2 plays, he had Jolie open in the back of the end zone and KC open in the back of the end zone. He threw it to him, but both was like kind of a half second late. The Jolie one, he overthrew him. KC caught it, but got pushed out of the end zone because the defenders had time to kind of make up.
Yeah, there was a lot of air under that ball.
Yeah.
Carson, I guess we'll circle back to you. Just kind of give me your thoughts on the offensive. Whether CJ or the offensive line, you can take one of those and kind of just give me your thoughts on it.
I think it's CJ, but mostly it's circumstantial because this was probably the toughest defense that he was going to play since the Clemson game.
Yeah.
And we saw him move the ball really well. It's just when we got in the red zone where he started to struggle. And I think that's because he's a freshman and he's not used to playing in the red zone. And I think a lot of people forget that playing in the red zone is actually the hardest place of the field to play because you're still playing with the same amount of people with a less space to work with.
Yeah, it's hard.
And so when you're inexperienced, that can prove to be very difficult at times. And Duke is a very I wouldn't say they're like one of the top defenses in the country, but they are a very physical defense.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it comes back to Anai with his red zone play calling, because you have to, like you said, it's hard. You have less room to work with, and there's defenders can use the sideline in the end zone as an extra defender, and that's where I think some of that more falls to the play caller to put Bailey in a better position to succeed in the red zone.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of play calling, and I remember it was third down. I couldn't tell you when in the game it was, but I saw Jolie come out and Dante Daniels come in. I think it was like 3rd and 3, maybe 3rd and 4. It was definitely a somewhat short yardage. It might have been 3rd and 2, and they come in. I go, well, this is a run play. It sure stuff. Mm-hmm. It was a run play, and Duke saw it coming, and they snuffed it out, and then they stopped the play, and then we end up punting. So I think that's the frustrating thing, is because and that's nothing against Dante Daniels or anyone like that. Like, he's just going in and I think he's had like 2 or 3 catches this year, but those personnel, and it was really evident earlier in the season. We talked about this before, especially in that Tennessee game. When you had who was McCabe would come in, and then Daniels would come in, and it was pretty much like, okay, we're going to run the ball in this situation. And we've kind of gotten away from that a little bit, but this was an obvious, okay, this is going to be a run. And I think that's the frustrating thing. And then you had certain times in the red zone where you just didn't have your best guys in, and so it was just head scratching. The whole thing was just very head scratching. So I guess that leads me to my next question, and we'll talk a little bit more about the game. We'll kind of shift gears. You mentioned Denai and the offense. What's the fix? I mean, it's not going to get fixed this year, but are we talking is this a personnel thing? Is this a coaching thing? Because I'm not so sure you can say it's a personnel thing, because arguably we went out and made the biggest head waves that we've made in some time, bringing in a lot of offensive talent. So does that lead to the coaching? Like, is it scheme? Is it maybe personnel on the offensive line? Because again, we thought our offensive line was going to be really good this year with a ton of upperclassmen. And at times, they've done okay. They've done an adequate job, but then it just felt like we took a step back this weekend because we run for 27 yards and CJ's under duress a lot of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I don't think it's not fixing itself in this season with 2 games left. You just kind of go out there and play the best you can against Georgia Tech and UNC. I mean, that Georgia Tech game, it was going to be tough. It was, slated as being a tough game at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
I still think that's going to be tough. You got a week off to prepare. So I mean, and then you get 9 days off, so in a full another week, but 9 days off to prepare for UNC. So I think you just kind of you figure out each team's weaknesses and try and attack that and what you can do. I think you've got enough time to prepare for both. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, I think to your point, you can't say that there's not, that they won't have time to go over everything, right? You're not playing in a quote unquote short week. You're not.
Yeah.
You're going to have the most time to prepare. So you would be hoping that you come out and play more like you did against Stanford, right, after that bye week, and do well. So Carson, kind of give me your thoughts on that same question about what needs to change, and just what can we do to get better.
I'm not going to say coaching to an extent, because I think like Dave has his culture there, right? I think my main problem with Dave is I don't think he gets the players fired up for a few games. Like, we see him get the players fired up for Carolina, not necessarily for Wake and Duke. And there's a problem with that, because those are also Paco road rivals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's 6-6 against Wake, 1-3 against Duke. It's tough. It's tough, but I don't know. When you talk about looking ahead, I think past this season, I feel like when it's obvious that there needs to be a change made, that Dave has always kind of made a change. He really hasn't been afraid to make a change. And I don't know who or where, but I think we'll see something happen this offseason. I don't expect to go into next season with the full offensive staff still the same.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question, right? Has this staff become kind of stale, right? That was one of the strengths that we were talking about earlier in the season, was the continuity of the staff. They'd been together for, I know the newest guys with Coach 2J and Anai, they were the newest additions, but the rest of that core had been together, 3+ years. Now you're going into the second years of the both of those coaches that I just mentioned. So it's, where do we need to get better? Where do we need to get better development? Is it a coaching thing? I don't know. We're not definitely advocating for anyone to be fired, but it's definitely a discussion to be had, because it just doesn't feel like this offense is at full strength, or it's not. You're not getting the most out of that offense that you would expect to get. There's a lot of explosiveness, and it feels like it's just kind of being held back. And I know you do have a freshman quarterback, and so there's going to be some what's the word, ups and downs, I guess. And but this season, like, this isn't a CJ Bailey issue. Like, he has played extremely well. So you would think that, okay, like, you kind of take some lumps this year, but you have a core. You really have a core of offensive guys that really can take the next step next year. And is it this coaching staff that's going to take them to that next step? I don't know. Because you're going to be replacing a lot on the offensive line. I mean, pretty much the whole offensive line is going to be new next year, with the exception, I think, of Peak. I think he's the only one that can come back, if memory serves me correctly. Is that right?
I think Carter can too.
Carter, yeah. Anthony Carter can too. You're right. So, but you still, though, I mean, you're replacing four dudes up there.
Yeah. It just seems like they're trying to do too much to find what works for Bailey, and it's just cut it down. But which they have done some. I mean, to their credit, like some of the running game, you pretty much only see inside and outside zone now, which is good. But I feel like they're still trying to run Bailey too much. Like he's not a great runner.
Yeah, he looks stiff when he runs, doesn't he?
Yeah, and that stupid RPO option that they gave him on the 2-yard line, like you could not give that. Like Bailey made the wrong decision. He should have handed it off, but at the same time, just call a little run, get it. Don't let him.
Don't be too cute, right?
Yeah, right there when you're backed up on your own too. I don't know, and I've wondered this. So like, I don't know enough about other teams and how other coaching staffs work, but like how common or uncommon is it where the offensive coordinator isn't also the QB coach? I feel like that's usually how it works, but I don't know. Do you guys have any? Because Anai is not.
No, he is not. That's Coach Roper, right? Roper. Yeah.
Which individually it hasn't hurt those positions. Like Bailey's been great. Like Roper's done a good job getting him along, and then Anai coaches the inside receivers, which is Casey and Joe Lee, who obviously have been your best receivers. So it's like individually the players haven't been hurt by that development, but it seems like the offense as a whole, I don't know, maybe that has something to do with it, that Anai and Bailey just aren't on the same page. I don't know.
Well, and I guess too, the other, and again, we have this conversation, and Carson, I kind of want to get your thoughts. How much does Dave Dorn have his hands in the cookie jar with the offense, right? Is he limiting the growth, if you will? Because we've talked about this. Coach Dorn is a defensive minded coach, so is he going to be more conservative and then turn it over to his defense? I feel like he is, but Carson, kind of give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, we see a lot of times, especially in the NFL, where there's a rookie or a freshman quarterback, the head coach will basically simplify the playbooks. They only have to memorize a certain amount of plays.
Yeah.
I wonder if Dave is trying to do that for CJ, and I don't really think that's going to work with this type of offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's crazy. So going back to the conservative, you go 3 of 15 for third downs, and you go 2 of 3 on fourth down, right? So your percentages were much better on fourth down. Granted, lower sample size, but you got down and you started kicking those field goals, and you're like, at some point, you're gonna have to put some points on the board, and it just didn't feel like we were making those decisions. Especially, in the third quarter, where we blew 2 timeouts essentially in that first, 8 minutes of the quarter, and you call a timeout when you're facing a 4th and 2, maybe 4th and 3, and then either you are going to go for it or take the delay and then kick the field goal. And then he took the timeout and then still ends up kicking the field goal, so it goes from like a 22 or 23 yarder to like a 28 or 29 yarder.
Right. That's
just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I think it's just been, I mean, he's definitely, obviously, you can't really argue around it. He's a defensive coach. He's more conservative when it comes to the style of play. At the same time, I think it's just been, he hasn't hit on that offensive coordinator and gotten him to stay around like Tony Gibson. Like,
right.
Yeah, Drink was Eli. A great offense coordinator. Yeah, he's great. But obviously, when somebody's great, they're going to move on. Usually move on. I mean, we've been lucky to keep Tony Gibson around. Like, we could be talking about the defense the same way. Like, but it's just been, I think you've been lucky to keep Gibson around. So I think it's just.
And his name's being floated around for head coaching right now. Yeah. I mean, like you see, ECU, that name, that his name's kind of popping up on that radar a little bit, and there's going to potentially be some other ones. So, who knows what the offseason is going to look like from a coaching standpoint. We could be having to replace some folks, and then if that's the case, like, do you lose guys, right? Do guys move on, from because coaching staff moves on? we'll have plenty of time to check that out here. But we still, like you said, have 2 games left. But hey, this weekend we're not going to lose, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah,
that'd be my first weekend home since August, so I think I'm going to be enjoying that. But real quick, before, is there anything else we want to talk about of the game? I mean, I know we didn't really break down X's and O's and different plays. And
Yeah,
I don't know if I really want to. I don't know if I really want to relive some of that stuff. But anything kind of just puzzling, that you kind of I think the one thing that kind of annoyed me from that game was when was it Cooley or Coley that got the fumble?
Cooley,
yeah. And he got caught from behind, and that I think the one thing that irked me, and I don't have the grinds my gears, but you saw so many guys celebrating because they thought he was going to take it to the house, and he had no convoy to help him get the blocks that he needed.
That, yeah.
I think that was the one thing that kind of stuck in my craw, and I was like, that's a 4-point swing. And again, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. You're still going to lose, but the momentum going into the half, feels differently.
That would have been, it would have been what? 13, we would have been 13, ahead. 12. We would have been ahead 13-12. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't gone back and rewatched that one, but yeah, it just like, I thought he was going to take it all the way. I don't know. He just got caught.
Yeah. And I didn't rewatch it either, but watching it live, it looked like he just didn't get a convoy. And I don't know, maybe because there was kind of like a dog pile, so maybe some of the guys got washed and they couldn't get out in front of them. Yeah. I'm not sure, but I definitely would like to look that one again. But from the raw, it looked like maybe he could have had some guys helping him. But still a hell of a play. I mean, that was
Yeah. It would have been a key play, but it's like it's sort of hard to pick on that one too much just because that's a rare scenario. He's not out there running the ball.
And it's a tough day, especially if your seniors going out. A lot of guys.
Yeah.
The one interesting one was Boykin. Was it Boykin?
He
was the one
didn't. Safety.
Yeah, safety. Boykin, right? Yeah. He didn't walk, so that was kind of an interesting. So maybe he gets a medical red shirt.
Yeah. He hasn't played at all. So
no, they thought he was gonna. I think once they realized the season was maybe kind of washed, that they probably decided maybe it was a mutual decision. And
with an ACL, it's like you might as well take your time there.
Yeah. So. And that'll be a big addition if he does come back next year. But again, we'll see what happens there. So, all right, it's the Smith Show here in the chat. Kind of talk about a few things. I know the Smiths here are not related. We have the first mom of Tuffy Talk, Kathy, is in here, and she's venting a little bit. I think everyone is just kind of at that point. Hunter, who we always appreciate being here and in the chat. I completely agree with everything you're saying here, Hunter, that, it is totally unacceptable to lose to Duke and Wake Forest. Those are games that I think, I don't remember which one Carson or Michael said it, but those are games that you just have to win. They're not, they're not direct. It's like you're not like your main rival, but those are rivals that you have to win. And you're 1-3 and would you say 1-3 against Duke and 6 against Wake? That's, you have to be better against those teams. Those are games that you should have at least a 75% winning percentage against.
Go ahead,
Carson.
I mean, a lot of NC State fans are saying that they're the football school of North Carolina. Well,
Duke is,
Duke is right now until you have a winning record against them.
Yeah, it's just those are games you have to win in this league. Those are not traditional powers, and every now and then they'll have some time. They'll have a season here or there, but historically they are not programs that should be intimidating you. You have better athletes for the most part, and that you should be beating them. I mean, there's just
Wake. I think Wake. The bad losses, like I know we have a losing record against Duke, but the times we lost them, it's been, they've been good Duke teams at least. Like the Wake, like last year they won 9, I think, with the bowl. This year they're at 7 already. I think 2020 they won 8. Yeah. But
they've been better of late.
And we've lost to some bad Wake teams. Those are the ones that hurt, especially because a couple of those weight losses, like 2018, like 2020. Well, 2021 was a good weight team. It was an 11-win weight team, but those weight losses like kept us out of the ACC championship.
Yeah, and
game
21 is when we
at
beat
least
Duke.
2 years.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
20
was it 20 that we beat Duke? 21. I'm trying to, that was the year Devin Leary broke his leg against Duke.
2020, because that was the
2020,
COVID year.
Yeah, it was COVID year.
Yeah.
I think 2018 Wake is probably Dave's worst loss.
Is that the Mezzi fumble?
Yeah.
No, it was the
no.
Newman game. It was the Jamie Newman game where it was Blackout and Carter Finley.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Home.
Yeah.
Ryan Finley's senior game.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. The years I'm getting old, so they kind of, once you start talking about it, then I remember the game. But that was the one where Newman wasn't the quarterback and they insert him in, and then he goes off on us. Yeah, he was the backup. Yeah. I remember that.
Somehow
it's just weird. I mean, it's just weird. Like, I don't know. But again, there's we should be winning these games. There's just not a lot of excuses about it. All right. Where do we want to go? We want to go men's basketball or women's basketball?
Do women, since they played yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't have a lot on the women's game other than I know they did lose. I was driving home from Raleigh, so I listened to a little bit of it, but they end up going down to Charlotte, losing 71-57. Close in the first half. I know South Carolina, kind of went on a run at the end of the first half, and then South Carolina got a nice lead, and then you saw some fight from State, towards the second half. But whoever want to kind of takes the lead on this, and then I can kind of throw some stats out there. So whoever wants to talk, go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of good from the guard play, at least. Isaiah James played pretty good. Zoe Brooks played pretty good. The freshman Zamaria Jones played pretty good.
She's legit, man.
Thing that I want to say is that if NC State women's basketball really wants to compete with like the top of the country, they really need to get more physical down low.
Yeah, and we have some injuries right now, so that's not that. With was it Whitmore?
Yeah. What's her face? Weimer, Caitlin Weimer,
not Whitmore. Weimer. Thank you.
Weimer.
Yeah. I mean, you can already see a couple of games in we're missing her big time, and I mean, I never expected State to win this game, probably even with Weimer, but I don't think it's as dominant. Obviously, South Carolina, they're still going to be good. They're still number one, but I don't think they're as dominant as they have been over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like I feel like we also lost. We dropped 5 spots in the poll because of a loss to the number one team. Like,
that's trash. That's trash. I was going to talk about that here in a little bit. Yeah, but
I don't know.
Early.
I thought it was a respectable showing for where we are at the 5 position, and factoring in who the opponent was.
Yeah. Look, here's the thing. It's a good early test for the women. Just kind of see where you're at, what you need to get better at. Tons and tons of basketball. At the end of the day, this doesn't really do anything other than, here's the thing about these games. Yes, they count, but when you go looking for seedings, this is a little bit of weight put on these games because it's so early. It's not going to affect anything in the grand scheme of things. I don't think. I think you get more benefit playing these games, though. Kind of like I said, just figuring out where you're at in the pecking order and how you need to get things. And you saw Zamara Jones. Okay, give her more playing time. She had 28 minutes. All right, you can give her 32.
16 points, right?
Yeah, you definitely. I don't know some of these. I'm looking at the box score here.
I mean, it's like just playing the game is good for your resume. I mean, nobody's gonna You're not gonna get dinged for losing to South Carolina, but your strength schedule is gonna be.
But you need to get more production from your bench. Looking at this. other than Jones, if you take away her points, we had 6 points off the bench. You got to find scoring. You probably would like Sanaya Rivers to have more than 4 points.
Mhm.
If I can just be brutally honest.
Yeah. One for 7 off of field goals.
It's just you need your best players to be your best players, and I don't know. And again, I wasn't able to watch it. Was South Carolina taking her out of the game? Like, was it just a great defensive, performance against her?
Yeah, it was just great defense. And we were just driving inside a lot. I feel like we were driving inside a lot, the guards, but they weren't really being physical. So that led to a lot of missed layups.
Yeah.
And South Carolina getting a lot of fast breaks.
Yeah. I'm in a text thread with some guys, and they were saying, I guess we weren't getting a lot of calls, and you don't want to necessarily put it on that, but it sounds like we weren't getting the benefit of some calls on those drives.
Yeah, there was about a 2-3 minute portion in the first quarter where I was just like, what the heck are these refs doing?
Yeah. And Michael, I think you're getting ready to say what I was thinking about the refs not being great in women's basketball.
Yeah, I mean they're just, and then when you're playing South Carolina, you're not getting that. You're not getting that.
Yeah, and Kathy says it here. It was a good rep from NC State as far as attendance. I think there was over 15,000 people at the game yesterday, so that was
wow.
That was something. I think it was 15,000 and some change. I think it was like 15,500, 15,600. For some reason, I think it was 15,671. That was the number I think I saw online this morning. But that's a great number, and you had a good billing. It was a double header, and so you had State versus South Carolina, and then Iowa versus Virginia Tech. So the Virginia Tech folks traveled, and the South Carolina fans traveled. I'm sure the lowest number there was Iowa, but that's a good number for women's basketball, and that's what you want to continue to see in these matchups. And you put a good product out, people will come show and see it.
Yeah.
So the women did get a win earlier in the week against East Tennessee State. That one was a little sloppy to begin with early in the game, but they turned it on in the second half, in the third and fourth quarters, outscoring them. It was 80-55 decision. Again, a lot of folks played in that game. A lot of good scoring. You had Zoe with 21. Isaiah with 17, Rivers and Hayes each with 11. And then again, bench scoring was a little bit better in that game, a little bit more balanced, but it just wasn't, not enough. It's interesting to see like Lacey Steele, who's someone that got a lot of playing time last year, isn't really getting a lot here early off. So I'm not sure what's kind of going on there. That's a player that you'd like to maybe see get going with a 3-point shooting. But yeah, the ladies will be back at it this week. They play Thursday night at Reynolds against Kent State, so we'll see how that goes, and we'll have something to talk about next weekend because they will play Thursday and then they'll play Sunday against TCU. So we'll have 2 games next week to talk about with them. But we will kind of just go ahead, Carson.
And the TCU game's in Fort Worth.
Is it? Okay, yep. Thank you.
And TCU's a dark horse team to make the tournament.
Yeah, and then TCU, I think that is, no, that's not who I thought it was. Oh, Rice, that's what I'm thinking of. Former NC State coach is at Rice, not TCU. Wrong Texas school. So, okay.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Playing TCU, that's where Haley Van Lith is now. She was at Louisville. So
you're right.
Here again.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, I forgot that she's moved on to another school. So all right, so there'll be some familiarity there at least, and we should I think that'll be a fun game to watch. Again, another solid out of conference game. So we'll take those. You'll have a mixture of some easier ones and some more difficult ones, but just kind of bounce over to NC State men's basketball. 81-72 winner against Presbyterian on Friday night. I was there. It was a weird game. Like, it was never really it is never really in doubt, but it didn't really feel comfortable either. It was kind of a weird.
Yeah, they never pulled away like they did against South Carolina Upstate. Like that Upstate game was like kind of close for the first 10 minutes, and then we went on a run and never really got back within, 15, 12 points.
Yeah. It was 38-31 at the break, and then we, like to your point, we only outscored them by 2 in the second half. So it really just the lead never just really stretched. But I thought it was a good game. I wanted to see the team stats because I felt like we had a lot of turnovers. Yeah, we had 19 turnovers. It just felt like every time the flow of that first half just felt like it took forever because there was a turnover, a foul. Like the game never really got going. And it was just a weird start. But State shot almost 56% from the field and 37% from 3-point land. So you'll take those numbers all day. So Carson, to kind of just give me your thoughts on what you saw in that game.
I mean, this is the second game of the regular season, so I think we'll see the turnovers get cleaned up a lot as we progress, especially in the next couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to need to do that because this non-conference schedule is pretty tough. I think it's the toughest that we've had since Keats was hired.
I would agree.
Playing Purdue, at Kansas, Texas, Ole Miss. I think we played like
BYU potentially
as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of big games. And we see now with the whole net ranking and quad wins and bracketology, non-conference schedule, it plays a much bigger role nowadays than it did previously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael.
I think you just have to figure out, which is obvious, you have to figure out your rotations, and that's tough because Mike James is out right now too.
Right.
And I think he'll be a big piece of it when he comes back.
Yeah. I would think he would be a starter. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think Marcus Hill's been starting.
Yeah. He's been playing well.
Yeah. I think he's kind of doing a little bit of everything. Like he's not putting up big scoring numbers, but I mean against Presbyterian he had 7 points, but 5 rebounds, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal. I don't know. You got 2 weeks between now and Purdue. You got how many games? 1, 2, 3 games. You got Coastal Carolina Wednesday.
Yep.
Colgate the following Monday. Colgate's always they're always a solid mid-major, so that'll be probably your hardest game out of the mid-majors so far. And then you got William and Mary before Purdue. So I think definitely one thing is your free throws. I mean,
it's been a challenge.
For 2 games, it has not been good.
It's not been good.
I think it's a small sample size, but it's still like you gotta. I think let's see.
I think we're shooting about 58%, 59%, somewhere around there.
Yeah, like that. Especially if you're gonna play inside with Huntley, Hatfield, and Middlebrooks, those guys can draw the fouls. Marcus Hill, that's his game, getting to the basket, getting to the line. Jaden Taylor does some of that too.
Yeah,
you got to knock those down.
My big gripe, which is gonna sound crazy, is Mr. O'Connell keep shooting the rock, baby. Like just like 2 of 4. Like that's 50%. Like give me a couple more. Like don't be so. I get it. He's the glue guy that kind of keeps this thing going and keeps the the glue or the oil that keeps the machine running. I would just like to see him be just a little bit more selfish. Only 3 of 6. Field goal wise, and I'm sorry, 4 of 7. I'm sorry, I was looking at Marcus Hill's numbers. Apologies. He was 4 of 7, but 2 of 4 from the 3-point line. Just he just does everything. 8 assists. What is it? 5 rebounds. I mean, he just goes in there. What was his assist? One assist. No, sorry, 8 assists to 1 turnover. I was talking O'Connell. 8 assists to 1 turnover. Just a solid game, but man, just shoot a little bit more. I know he's trying to get his guys involved, but that's kind of where I was at with that game.
How about
Styles is shooting pretty good. Like, let him shoot a couple more. Go ahead. What you got, Michael?
how about Middlebrooks hitting another 3?
Yeah,
I think he's 2 for 2. Well, I think the game that one in the first game they called it a 2. His foot was on the line, but it was basically a 3.
Yeah,
and then he hit one against Presbyterian the other night too.
I mean, to that point, that's a sneaky good observation, because if you can pull those guys out, then you can work some backdoor stuff, and it opens up lanes for other guys. So if you people have to respect that, they can't sag down and do that. So that's a big thing. So if people start respecting that, that could be, like you said, a game changer on offense.
Yeah, 16 points in 19 minutes for Middlebrooks. I mean,
yeah, and just. That's effective and efficient. His game is definitely taking a step. You started to see that during the tournament run last year too. I think that was the was it the Oakland game he went off? I think it was the Oakland game.
Oh, I don't remember, but yeah, there was one.
I'm pretty sure it was the Oakland game. But yeah, it's gonna look, Friday.
No, it was a Texas Tech. It was our first game.
Texas Tech. Okay, all right. I could
21 points.
Yeah, yeah, he was really good in that game, and he shot a lot of free throws, and I thought he shot them pretty well too, if memory serves me correctly.
Yep, 9 of 10 from the free throw line.
Yeah, but yeah, that's an aspect, where when we got him last year, you were like, okay, whatever. But huge.
Yeah, he'll be a good backup.
Yeah, huge dividends. Were you there, Carson, on Friday night?
I was not there on Friday night. I was there on Monday night, though. So I got to see the banner raising, so that was really fun.
Yeah. You weren't on last Monday, so give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah. How was that?
The banner raising, I thought it was just a really cool experience. It was cool to see Casey Morsell as well doing the announcing on the sideline. That was really fun.
Yeah, I talked to Casey on Saturday. He stopped by the tailgate, and then I ran into him at the players' retreat after the game. And he said his folks were in town for the banner raising, and they had a good time with that. So I thought was really cool. So shout out to Casey. And then has anyone heard, like, so I'm on all kinds of like different groups, and people are complaining now because the banners have been moved around, that the lighting is worse, and so they got like the lights like staring them in the eyes. Has anyone heard this? Like,
no,
I saw a bunch of fans complaining about it the other night. And
the banners, they did a good job refreshing those banners.
Yeah, they look nice.
Them all.
Yeah, they moved them all over. Yeah.
Yep. Consolidated all the NCAA tournament onto one banner, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. It must be messing up the lights.
Yeah, so I think they shifted them, and now they're white and not red, so they're not absorbing as much of the light, and so everything just looks, I guess, brighter. Like, to your point, brighter and fresher. But again, I was talking to some people the other day. They were complaining about the parking situation at Livono, and I'm just like, gosh, dang! And I'm doing it now because
we can't complain about the ACC championship anymore. No one in the ACC championship.
That's right. But man, we're not happy unless we're complaining about something. So, but now I'm complaining about the fans complaining. So I guess I'm not any better. But it's funny.
Big shout out to Breon Pass.
Yeah, he had a great game last Monday, and didn't get as much playing time on Friday, but still was productive with 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just a really good feel story, right, Carson? Like a guy that's just kind of waited his time and not really complained. I've had a few interactions with him, and just really a class guy, and someone that you really want representing your school.
Yeah, yep. He's a great ambassador to the program, and he's a great leader on the team.
Yeah, and he definitely could have left, and you probably wouldn't have faulted him because he didn't get a lot of playing time, but he's a team first, not a me first. And I think, anytime that you get a guy that has more respect for the name on the front of the jersey than the back of the jersey, I think, you would take that 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. So really, really awesome to see. But what did we do in the non-revenue sports this week? And I know men's soccer lost in the ACC tournament. I know they lost 2-1.
Yeah. I heard there was some controversy with that one at the end, with the ending, but I didn't see it.
The second half had like 11 yellow cards.
Holy cow!
God.
And how many were those against State?
I would say probably 2/3 were against State.
Wow. Just chippy?
Yeah, there was a lot of flagrancy as well.
By them or us?
Kind of by both, to be honest.
Kind of by both. Okay. Well, I mean, if you think about it, not trying to make light of it, I mean, it's postseason play, right? So it's like do or go home. So you know, doesn't necessarily excuse the type of play, but it's it's more understandable why it was like that. So, so I guess now the tournament selections are made this week, or were they made last weekend?
No,
women were made this week, but that's earlier anyways.
Okay.
I think men's
probably this weekend.
I think we should make it.
Men's is probably this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, State should firmly be in.
Oh yeah, State's gonna be in.
Yeah, it just now it's a matter of if they host or not.
Yeah.
So that's really. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm assuming ACC does Coaches of the Year for men's soccer and first team. Is any of that stuff? I apologize. I just don't follow it as closely as I should. Is any of that stuff been announced yet? Do we know?
I don't think it's been announced yet.
Yeah,
but yeah, I would be. Coach Hubbard's probably got to be up there for.
Yeah, I would think he's. I don't know how these people vote, but you would think that he would be getting definitely some considerations for Coach of the Year. But
first year.
Yeah, first year. How did volleyball? I'm sure had a few matches this week. Any idea?
I saw they lost to Florida State, but Florida State's ranked number 24.
Florida State's good. Yeah,
and they lost to Miami as well. So they went to Florida and got 2 losses.
Yeah. See, now we're starting to kind of not helping ourselves here in the last couple of weeks of the season, where we were kind of hovering to begin with, and we've lost at least 3 in a row. It sounds like now, and not what you want. I don't know. How does the ACC tournament work for volleyball? Does everyone make it, or is it like top 10 or something like that?
I think it's like the top 6, something like that. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I know if we do want to make the NCAA tournament, we have like no room for error,
right?
Whatsoever anymore,
right?
Yeah, we play SMU twice, and SMU's ranked. They're a good team, and then we play Pitt at home, and Pitt's number 1.
Yeah. Well, if you win any of those matches, you're definitely going to help your resume. But to your point, you really almost can't even lose them at this point, because you've fooled around and lost some games that you shouldn't, especially that BC match 2 weeks ago, or a week from last Sunday. So that definitely puts you behind the 8 ball.
Men's and women's swimming went to Georgia and both won. Meet there against Georgia.
Georgia's always a good program. So that
women's soccer, we mentioned that, but we fired our coach.
Did we?
Yep.
I totally missed that. When did that happen?
It was
a few days ago. I think it was a few days ago. Yeah.
I think it was like Friday afternoon, like Friday news dump. But
yeah, right. That always happens. They always release that news on a Friday. That's why I didn't see it.
Yep, I think it kind of went under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think the official team actually like made it official. Like they didn't like post anything official about it.
Oh, yeah, on the Twitter page or X page.
No.
What did you even see that at then? Was it like on Go Pack or something?
Yeah, I think I saw it. I saw it on Go Pack or Technician, one of those ones.
Tim Santoro has been the head coach since 2012.
Yeah, been there a while.
Yeah. 90, 108, and 33, 28, 69, and 16 in ACC. So
that's not going to win you anything in the ACC.
And the ACC just gets tougher now with these programs. When you bring in Cal and SMU and especially Stanford, they crush the non-revenue. So if you weren't successful before, you're falling even further behind in the standings.
Yeah. And when you look at if you look at the rankings for women's soccer, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. Number 1, Duke.
Yeah.
Number 2, Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Number 4, UNC.
Yeah. So you're number 4. You're number 4 in your own state.
Yep.
And you could be number 5 in the country. You know what I mean? Like that's just.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're just falling more behind, and you got to make a move. And I don't know. Maybe coach can coach the women and the men. I don't know if he can do that, but hopefully we get someone of that caliber. But Boo hit a home run with the men's coach, so we'll see. And he's done a pretty good job hiring coaches to this point. It's still pretty early in a lot of those coaches' tenures, but they have their respective programs moving in the right direction.
Yep. I mean, he's hired a volleyball coach, Slave, Lucas Slave, Lindsay Leftwich for softball.
Yep.
Mark Hubbard for men's soccer, and now I'll be hiring a women's soccer coach.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I guess that'll give us something to talk about here probably in a few weeks. Before we wrap this up, just want to give a shout out to Cayman Smith from the football team. Got some news of an injury. So he'll be on the mend. Thankfully, it's not as serious as they might have thought it could have been. But he'll definitely probably be out the remainder of the regular season, and then depending on the bowl situation, he may or may not be available for that. But prayers up for you. You came in, and hopefully you get better soon. And he was a guy that had some extensive playing time a few weeks ago in the Stanford game, and did really well. And
he could definitely factor in next year as a starting lineman somewhere.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was getting ready to say. He's definitely going to be in the mix, and we were talking about that earlier. There's a lot of guys that we've spent a lot of time recruiting guys in the last couple of years on the offensive line. And that's one of those positions where you got to get your body right, and you're not going to see guys come in usually and make immediate impacts on the offensive line. They just got to get bigger and stronger, and so we're kind of stockpiling these guys, and it'll be interesting to see next year who comes out of that mix and ready to compete, and maybe we'll see a big improvement in that area next year.
And how hard they go in the portal for linemen, because they're expensive. So if you can, it's much cheaper to recruit and develop your own guys. But of course, that's always...
and Coach 2J has a reputation of both. I mean, he's definitely sent guys to the NFL, and so you think about it.
The Corral getting out of the transfer portal too. That's a great pickup that way.
Yeah. And again, this is only Coach 2J's second year with these offensive linemen, and so he's still trying to get his guys in there. And he inherited a lot of folks, and so we'll see. Next year will be a big year for offensive linemen, and the
rest of your offense should.
And that's exactly the point I was getting ready to make. That was the point I was going to make. You would think that, okay, if you could keep a large part of your nucleus there on the offensive side, that it could be a really explosive offense. Again, we'll have to wait and see how it all pans out, because you just can't make those predictions now anymore. You just don't.
It's year to year.
Yeah, and it's year to year. And you have the two transfer, the two portal windows, the winter one and the spring one. So there's no guarantee that guys, even if you see them make it through the winter, that they're going to be there come, post spring practice. And so, but whatever. We it is frustrating as a fan. A losing record in Carter Finley, right? Is it losing record, or do we go 3-3?
No, we went
4-3.
4-3.
Western, Northern Illinois, La Tech, and Stanford. Those were the 4 wins.
So 4-3. Yeah. Here's the crazy thing. I guess we'll wrap on the show, because we were doing our preseason predictions. We thought that this was going to be the easiest slate we've ever had at Carter Finley, and we went 4-3. And again, you didn't expect a lot of the things that happened. You didn't expect to have Grayson McCall go through his injuries, and who knows what the season looks like if you have a Grayson McCall from 2 years ago. I don't know how much it looks different, but yeah, it was a weird season at Carter Finley this year. It's done. Like, it's already done. It was done on the 9th of November. It was really early wrap. Yeah, early wrap for home games. We finally got one fall game, and that was this past Saturday. The rest of the time we've been, sweating, and there's dang noon games have gotten us all year. And so we, I think that's kind of just another hard part of the pill to swallow, is so many noon games, because the team was struggling, you didn't get prime games. You didn't, just didn't get what you were looking for this year. And I think, looking back at when we do our end of year retrospect, it's got to be, there was games there like we could have won, and we should have won. Just didn't get things done. I mean, last past Saturday we had 8 penalties for like 79 yards. It's just when you have things that you struggle with, you have to just find a way to win, and you have to be pretty clean. And I just felt like we haven't been clean in a lot of games, other than the Stanford game. We haven't really just kind of put it all together. And then when you saw that Stanford game, you're just, well, this is what we should have been all year. And again, I know it's Stanford, but I don't know. Someone just jump in here and kind of take the reins. I'm rambling and soapboxing at this point.
Yeah, I think going forward, your goal is to just make a bowl game. And
it has to be, right?
Yeah. And
where do you see the where do you see that win getting to? Where do you see that win coming from?
It's
2 road games.
I don't know, because Georgia Tech, we do have a bye before Georgia Tech, but if you do the math, Georgia Tech can still make the ACC championship.
Yeah,
because they have the tie. They have the tie break. If SMU loses out, if Miami loses out, Georgia Tech can kind of still make it in there. Yeah. A lot needs to happen.
It's also prime spot for a letdown for them though, coming off that Miami win.
And we're Georgia Tech's last ACC game.
Yeah. Okay.
So who are they playing? Do they have a bye this week?
Yeah, they have a bye this week.
Yeah.
Okay. So both teams will have the same advantage.
Although if like SMU wins and eliminates Georgia Tech, then if we start out really strong against Georgia Tech might just give up, because they go to Georgia the next week, so they might just try to start resting for that game, because Georgia looks vulnerable at the moment.
They do.
That would be wild if Georgia Tech ends up beating Georgia.
I think it's at Georgia Tech this year too, isn't it? No, it's at Georgia.
It's in Athens.
No, it's Athens.
It's Athens.
Yeah, they'll get killed. But no, I think it's got to be UNC. I mean, just the way, the way UNC looks versus Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech. I mean, nobody. There'll be more state fans in Keenan than UNC fans, probably, even with how bad we are.
Especially since it's basketball season. This is what I love. I love playing Carolina and Chapel in football whenever it's basketball season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, Carolina could be 7-4 going into that game.
Yeah. Personally, I really hope Carolina wins one more game before they play us.
Right. So they're not fighting for a bowl game.
They're not fighting for a bowl game.
Yeah.
So that they're not really playing for anything other than just winning the game.
Yeah. Although,
but they would love to spoil. They would love to spoil us from going to a bowl game.
And that's what I was going to say. Vice versa. Yeah. I'd love to keep them from going to a bowl game.
Yeah. Yeah. Assuming that ours was locked in already, right? But
and this is probably going to be Mac's final game, so I would not. That would suck.
We saw last year though when Carolina was a 7-8 win team.
Yeah,
they knew they weren't going to the ACC championship game.
Yeah,
they knew they were going to a bowl game, so they just didn't try.
Yeah,
they just didn't show up first half.
Yeah. That was a different state team though. It was a much more physical state team. And that's not a knock on our current team. They play hard, but just different attitude team. Peyton Wilson's last home game, just things lined up for us that we weren't going to lose that game in Carter Finley.
Yeah.
But they got, like I was saying, they got Wake this week, and then they got BC, which BC is fighting for a bowl game. And
BC.
That might be
They're
tough.
playing-
I
they're
think
playing-
it's FBC, right?
Going
It
to
might not
Chestnut
be.
Hill in November,
It's
it's gonna be
tough.
stinking cold.
It's tough.
That one, yeah.
Look, that's been a house of horrors for us at State. So
I think they'll lose one of those two, Wake or BC.
I think they will. Yeah, I think they beat Wake. That's at home. That's that should win that, and then I would imagine they probably go to BC and lose there. But again, I don't want to be fighting for a bowl game against them because they would love nothing more to not allow us to get to that, and then conversely,
That'd be great to lock it up this next Thursday night.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were fighting for a bowl game against them in I think Ryan Finley's first year.
Yeah.
And we were up 14 at halftime.
Yeah.
I think that was the
Gillespie,
the Gillespie game, right?
5 touchdowns. Yeah.
5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think no,
that
was the year. That was
2016.
Yeah,
that
it was 2016 was when Dave was fighting for his job.
I don't know.
16,
Yeah,
17.
It was the Mitch Trubisky game. Mitch Trubisky was on Carolina.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. Well, we got a couple weeks before we get there. Like I said, we have a nice bye week this week, and we won't have to stress this weekend as State football fans, which is nice. But conversely, it's like I kind of just want to get it done and over with at this point. It's just been one of those seasons, and we had a great final tailgate. We had a ton of people out there, and it was fun. It's always a bittersweet, at least for me and my crew, that it's it's done. You
only get 7 a year, right?
You only get 7, 7 home ones, and occasionally we'll do road tailgate, but it's still it's incredible to think that we've already been through 10 games of the season. Like it just felt like August was here just a few weeks ago. So, but it's been fun. We got a couple more. I saw the latest projections. If things work out the way they do, I'm seeing a lot of Gasparilla Bowl predictions. So Michael Tracy would love that to happen, being right in his backyard.
I saw that, but I think we might be in North Carolina.
Of course,
we might be coming back for Christmas because I was looking ahead at some bowls and I was like,
yeah,
okay, Tampa.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, selfishly, again, not to get ahead of ourselves, I'm looking for the Military Bowl. It's an hour and 15 minutes from my house. I know it's not a great bowl game, but at this point, I'll get this. My streak will get to number 40 against Carolina, and then I'll get to 41, and then next year I'll hit 50, and then we'll see what happens. But go ahead.
Instead, so the last 2 times we've lost in Chapel Hill, we're in October, not November.
Interesting.
The last time we lost a November game in Chapel Hill was 2006.
I feel like that was the punt game with
Was that how? Oh yeah, that was too early. Punt game was like 2011 or something.
You think it was that? Well,
it was Chuck Amato's last year.
Oh yeah, then Bernard was not there. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. Gosh,
because I remember, the Geo punt return. I remember that one. Yeah, because I didn't go to the game, but
that was in Carolina.
That was my dad was there because I was still playing high school football, and that was Saturday morning. So we had like film practice or film review Saturday morning, afternoon, and I remember getting home from that, and my dad was like, "Yeah, it was just awful, the punt return."
Yeah. That's one of those that still haunts you, right? Yeah. But anyway, all right, guys. Well, I think we'll wrap there. It's just kind of just we need basketball to get it going. We need to wash this taste out of our mouth with regards to football and turn the page and kind of just get excited. It stinks, but it is where we are, and like I said, I'll still be there. I'll be flying down to Atlanta for that game. My dad will be driving from South Carolina, so we'll have a fun couple of days together, and then we'll make it over to Chapel Hill for the last game. And I guess I don't know when they'll announce the game for Chapel Hill. When is that? Next Monday? I feel like maybe next Monday.
maybe the second one because
maybe the second Monday after that. Yeah,
last
Yeah,
week.
With the bye. That's what's screwing us up. But
I know
it's
so weird.
And it's during the last week, so they'll need a lot of they'll need to do a lot of rivalry game.
Yeah,
for that.
yeah. But all right, yeah, it'll be fun. We'll talk about the rivalry game. You know, I kind of wish we had an SEC rival to play, because I don't know. I guess Carolina's okay, but it's not really like whatever.
Yeah.
All right, well, Pack Nation, well, that'll do it for our Monday live stream edition, and we always appreciate everyone popping in and jumping in the chat with us. And I know we didn't have a lot of people here tonight, and I think because people are just kind of over it with football, so I can't really blame them. They're ready to move on just like we are. But we always appreciate people that tune in. If you're out there listening to us on any of the different podcast platforms, we appreciate it. If you can, just leave us a good review, give us 5 stars, leave a good comment. We want to get that algorithm going so other NC State fans can find us. Same with if you're watching us on YouTube, just give us a like and kind of share out our videos. We definitely appreciate it. That's a great way to be able to help support the channel. And we should be getting back to getting some recorded. Things have just been crazy for the Tuffy Talk team, and we'll get some more videos out to you guys here real soon. We got to regroup and kind of figure things out, but we'll be getting those out to you. So we appreciate everyone, and then as always, as we say around here, go Pack.